This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Yeah, buddy. I'm just a kid from Chicago. Hey, big ups to Scooter Chose. Big ups, big ups. Self Love. Vision. Here we go. I'm just a kid from Chicago. Yeah, buddy. I'm just a kid from Chicago. Where you from? I'm just a kid from Chicago. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Big up, Scooter Chose, for this beautiful, beautiful piece of intellectual property. Welcome to Chi-Town's very own, the Self Love Show, where our motto is on earth as it is in heaven. Fing. Magnanimous ups to all the ancestors. They know what we don't know. We also say, as above, so below. We currently can be found Malcolm exclusively right here on the YouTube channel. This ain't that network. So caution if you're looking for a Fox fix for your box. This ain't that. If you're looking for a CNN fix, this ain't that. If you're looking for a MS or a MSNBC fix, this ain't that network. And that's why we call it TATN. This is your co-host, Nine Mills, also known as Self Love. What down, what down, what down, what down, Chi-Town, what down, repeat after me. I am greater than my excuse. Sink your soul into that. You're hearing excuses right now about why you can't repeat this. I am greater than my excuse. One more again. Third time's a charm. I am greater than my excuse. Today is Hump Day, Wednesday, August 18, 2021. We live. And we love to acknowledge that all of our souls can be any place in this magnificent universe. And thankfully, we all Scooter chose to be here together. Yes, sir. Here together. What down, what down, what down, Mr. Wordsmith, what you manifesting today, sir?
Love, self. You know me.
Absolutely.
Man, what you manifesting?
Likewise, brother. Pure, magnificent, unfiltered, unfettered. God's love, bro.
No doubt.
So it's been up on your part of the shy, bro.
Governor decided that everybody gonna have to wear masks in the schools.
What do you mean, a mandate?
Yeah. Yep.
How you feel about that? I mean, judging by your tone, I mean, what are you saying?
Some feel it's just the start. It's going to be a series of tyranny to follow. Think that you're gonna talking about doing the restaurants, can't go in, gyms, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
things of that such.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say? Love it or leave it, you know? Illinois, if you don't like it, leave it. Yeah.
That's what lots of people have done. They've lost quite a bit of population in the last decade or so.
Well, bro, I'm being facetious, but you know what I'm saying? I'm being facetious. I mean, you know, think about this self-love, and you and I, we've talked offline about this. You know, I guess I pray that everyone's coming from a point of view of love and sincerity, but there's a fat line between love and fear.
Huge line. You know?
There's a fat line between love and fear. There's a huge line between love and fear. Gotta come up with those little moves. There's a huge line. As long as we do it in sync, everybody sit there and watch. Hire a couple actors to pass out when we walk past and fart. You know what I mean? Woo! Yeah, big ups though. Big ups to all the groupies and you know, all of our legends that, you know, made it. But man, what to expect today? All right. Well, as always, we're gonna have the self-love quote of the day coming to you. You know, we are proud to have a discussion with a 30-year career public servant that's in the great state of Oklahoma. We'll cover her early life in rural Oklahoma. And I call her Connie the Voice Johnson. We're going to talk about her pathway to the governor's crib. That's right. To the governor's crib. Government. Also, as always, we're going to ask the esoteric quick picks, and we're going to see if we can ascertain the meaning of life from our honored guests. We're not going to play the name game in deference to time, but we will do the 9 and 9. Also, of course, the riddle du jour for all those who did not take French class or may have sat in French class with your lip poked out, not paying attention. That's riddle of the day. And then, of course, at the end of the whole thing, after we do, you know, our next week's sneak peeks, my favorite part of the whole shebang is when the co-host, Brother Wordsmith, wraps everything up in a poetic, metaphysical bun, if you will, which, you know, off the top of his dome, which I personally appreciate. That leads us into today's announcements. First off, you know, condolences and prayers up to Haiti. Man, they've been taking it. Speaking of moving self, I mean, at some point they may have to pack that bag and tell the French, give me my money back that we paid y'all back with the reparations out there, and you can have this back.
Man.
But man, right?
Something strange about that because it's an island with the same fault line, and DR never seems to really get hit like that.
Yeah, yeah. So and then they got pounded with is it Fred? Hurricane Fred, was that the one? They got pounded by a system right after the earthquake. So
Wow.
yeah, so if anybody's got family and everything, condolences. I'm sure there's legitimate ways where um, you guys can support. Second on the announcements is the Greater Beta links. They went off without a hitch. We'll see if we can get some data, some greater data, about some details, how much money was raised to educate specifically young black males, but towards their scholarship and their education at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Tony Baker, a friend of mine, comedian, pretty well known, up and coming, I would say. He's been in the business a long time. He's from the East Coast, but he's been residing in the Valley. His son was not street racing, but just, motoring around and some, for lack of a term, well, we're going to vibrate love, jackass, speeding down the street in the speed race, hit the car and took his son home. So condolences to Tony Baker and his family, and may his son rest in peace. TATN history. I'm bigger than my excuse, so I'm going to do some terse emails and some pick up the phone, make some phone calls and everything. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, I see what you're saying here. I appreciate you. I'm wondering what's going on. All right. Yeah. And then stuff going in my subconscious. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Stuff's going on. But I'll take care of that. And then our 1 year anniversary show is coming up around the corner, Self. 1 year. Huh?
Wow.
Right?
What is that date?
The date I want to say is the 9th, but the show is on the 8th. It's somewhere around there, or vice versa.
Right.
So, yeah. So we've scheduled. Yeah, I said scheduled. We've scheduled an anniversary show. We hope to have some of the previous guests come sit on the panel and chop it up, if you will. Well, TATN, they'll make some highlights videos, like the best of, if you will. Self, we can sit back with a cocktail, like those shows on the Baphomets TV, gossip and talk stuff. All right, so that's what we got. Darius, to my Noop, Darius Shavers, speedy recovery to you, Noop. I know all has always been well and all will be well. So, I'm sending a shout out to Joshua, yo to you, good brother. And my final announcements, and before I throw it to you, if you have any, is you guys make sure you start checking into Mouthpiece Included right here on TATN. That show runs on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Keep the 18s and unders out of the show. But it's politics, it's grown man, grown women talk, if you will. Tomorrow's topics, we're talking about the lack of the Bears in history, in the past, of course, drafting the quarterback or the black quarterback, if you will. And Self Love, did you have any announcements out there?
Just like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. Let's share this information. It's much needed in our community, and let's get her done.
Facts. Cameron Barnett said, can't wait to see Connie. Likewise, and thanks for being here, Cameron. We appreciate that, because we know your soul and spirit can be anywhere in this magnificent, vast, limitless universe. It has no walls, no floors, or no ceilings. Big ups to Marty Elkins. I'm still waiting on my steak. You came, promised a steak, came to the coast, and I don't know, it was crickets. But big ups. The thought, Self. It's the what
Thought
that counts. That's right. Big ups to my, I don't want to call him conservative, but I can definitely say he's not a Democrat friend.
Shared far and wide. We're growing this organically, and we need your help. share with like minds. It will help us immensely. And it's free 99. Don't cost a dime. As always, we got a very important video, the More Growth and Development platform that we are building the Self Love Nation off of. I need you to pay close attention to that. But before that, we have the Self Love Show quote of the day. The way up is through education. The way up is through education. That's from our guest, Connie, the Voice Johnson. Silverback More Growth and Development platform. Number 1, repair our nation via reparations. We demand our silver back. Number 2, to connect our breadwinners with our activists. And 3, show an accurate depiction of African-American Chi-Town. 4, to shine a light on positive influences. 5, heal our community one person at a time. 6, to provide an unfiltered platform for our influencers. 7, recycle the black dollar. 8, to provide mentors for the mentorless. 9, to close the gap between us and our pink kinsmen.
So it's about time we get that financial gap closed, huh, Brother Wordsmith?
Yes, we got to get them closed. Got to get it done, get them closed. The time they're trying to make it wider and wider. It's time to get it closed.
And one way to augment that reality is through realty. And speaking of realty, big ups to our guest last week, a silverbackette. I believe she was our third, Miss Shonell Blake. Big ups, hats off. Before I throw it to you on that, Self, my mom, she watches, she claims she watches all of them. I have no reason to doubt my mom's veracity. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
She is retired out here. Big ups, Mom. But she said that best show, huh? Wow.
It was a gem factory, I'll tell you that.
And my mom said she learned a lot. And, coming from Mom, bro, hey.
Right.
Huh? Hmm?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive.
And I will concur, Self Love. It was definitely a gem factory. The algorithm loves when you guys smash that thumbs up. That way we can get more individuals here to, enjoy this content. We're going to talk to our honored guests about everything. But before we get into that, Self, did you see there was the body cam in Dalton, the officer with the young lady?
Nah, I'll be unplugged for the most part.
Well, we put something together for you, bro. Production, if you guys can run this. Yeah, this is in Dalton, bro. There's this is our how to move and how not to move segment. So let's just go ahead and run that, Self, and then I'll let you say if that's how to move or how not to move, and then we'll go ahead and get our guest on board. And that was in Oklahoma, though.
How are you?
We just don't have time.
We put it right here in 2017, and we've been rolling ever since.
Sharpest Eatery, home of the $5 meal right in Miss Doris's front yard.
Right now we have rice and we have chicken and we have fish.
Even greens grown in her garden on the city's west side off Steel Street.
This is, it kind of look like the country.
There's a reason first-timer Annie Calhoun got country vibes from this pink mini kitchen.
I stayed in South Carolina for over 20 years, and that's where most of my cooking experience comes from, working with the ladies in South Carolina.
And I like her attitude and Miss Doris.
Doris Sharp Frazier, forever inspired by her mom's mac and cheese.
Don't be acting up, so we got company.
Her and her husband made this happen 4 years ago, bringing her cooking career to the neighborhoods.
It's hard for people out here. And if people can get a decent meal for a decent price, I hope they come here because it's worth it.
Her husband, he's gone now.
I told him I can see him up there in heaven telling people that she belongs. That's me and my wife right there.
She just doesn't stop. Open 6 days a week, full-time catering too. Just got her master's degree. Oh, and she's 73.
The best way to keep yourself alive to me is to keep going. Always do something.
COVID didn't help her unusual niche spot at all. She needs more mouths to feed, and soon.
If you have, as long as you got a dream and work at it, it will come true.
Reporting on Detroit's West Side, Jessica Dupnack, Fox 2 News.
Yeah. So what do you say, Self Love? Is that how to move or how not to move?
Well, definitely the second video is how to move.
Facts.
Really, you go through, all life and keep pushing forward like that. That's amazing.
Man, working 6 days a week, probably 10 hours. I mean, who knows? But you know what I mean?
And getting a master's degree.
Facts.
73.
Facts. So that's definitely how to move. And yeah, the marijuana grow operation, we just don't have time to break that down. But that was in Oklahoma. And basically they just raided the wrong place, destroyed all of the crops and
tyranny. They got to pay them back for every
plant.
But
they're not really talking about that. Well, they're saying that the amount that he wants is they're saying that he overvalued the amount. But so if they're not, these people aren't here, to listen to us banter.
You're right.
So if the production can go ahead and just start the Voices promo video, and then we'll do our introduction and we'll start this conversation we've been looking forward to for quite some time.
Don't act like you don't know. It's
be successful, and so I do what it takes to be successful. And that is, when I go home, I study and do my work and go to class.
Kind of corny stuff.
Well, it works.
Next week, the 18th, we have the former, speaking of going outside of the greater Chicago area, we have the former Oklahoma State Senator, another silverback in gubernatorial hopeful. I call her Auntie Connie Johnson, but Connie Johnson, she's running for governor.
Hi, I'm Connie Johnson. We've all heard the adage about being thrown from a horse and needing to get back on the horse.
Production, can you please reduce volume?
Jobs that people can be trained for.
Thank you. Maybe up one more notch, went all the way down, but big ups. So today, in the building, we have former Oklahoma State Senator Connie Johnson, AKA Ms. Constance Nevlin Johnson. She's a Holdenville, Oklahoma native, and I fancy myself quite adept on knowing all towns like Muskogee, Oklahoma, small towns. Never heard of Holdenville. She's a grad of University of PA, Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much.
She earned her BA there.
Very simple, starting us off.
Why do you want to be the governor of
Got
Oklahoma?
her master's at Langston
Because
University.
I am, after 35
Served
years
in
of
the
service,
Oklahoma
I'm a voice.
Senate, District 48.
I've been a consistent and trustworthy voice.
And also,
for the people
she
who
was
were
a public
disrespected,
servant
disregarded.
prior to her service as a state senator. First African-American woman nominated for a major statewide office in the state of Oklahoma. And the first woman U.S. Senate nominee from Oklahoma when she won the Democratic Party runoff in the 2014 Senate election. So big ups.
The horse all of a sudden
Big
stopped
ups.
on a dime at the closed gate.
So without further
Mother of the medical cannabis movement.
ado, and I think she does know French.
And I think it's
I
fantastic
think
and perfect.
she parles, two parles Francais, more than a petit peu. But let's go ahead and if you guys can join us in welcoming our honored guest, the future governor of the state of Oklahoma. When she wins, I'm moving to Oklahoma. And if production can stop the, appreciate that.
Thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to the Self Love Show. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I know you're going to help expand our nation.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm doubly and equally excited. So thank you for this opportunity to share with people beyond the Oklahoma borders who I am and our goal and our the thing that we're making happen in Oklahoma. This is an exciting time.
Yes, ma'am. And Miss Johnson, you know, I started calling you the voice, and thank you. As the co-host said, thank you so much for using your time, and we'll respect that as much as humanly possible. But I started calling you the voice based upon some things I've seen you say, I've heard you say in some interviews, you know, as you being the voice of the people. So we just want to kind of jump right into it. I mentioned, I think Holdenville, Oklahoma is where you were born. Can you briefly describe like what it was like being raised there in your early childhood, and maybe go into some of the lessons you were receiving from the elders and the ancestors, how they were interacting with you all during those times?
Thank you. I was born in Holdenville, Oklahoma, which is about 85 miles southeast of Oklahoma City. And my mom went there for me to be born, but my family was living in Dustin, Oklahoma at the time. And we lived there until I was 3. And then we moved even further into the southeast area of Oklahoma by moving to Idabel. Idabel is in the tip of the state. And I lived there until I was 6 years old. Very different from urban areas, but mostly everybody in Oklahoma City grew up in the country and came to the city. We moved to Oklahoma City when I was 6. I attended public schools, graduated from Douglas High School, the oldest public high school in the state, and was very active in school, you know, in terms of being a specialized twirler, being in the Honor Society. I played an instrument and I marched with the band, but I also organized the Eastside Teen Democrats Club when I was in junior high school. So, you know, my mom was very politically active. She was the secretary of the American Federation of Teachers Union. And my next door neighbor was what they call a yellow dog Democrat. So I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And I think I showed an interest in what public service represents, and that's helping people and helping people access the processes that ensure that, you know, government works for and by the people. But I got a full scholarship to the University of Pennsylvania. Um, and oh, I might say at Douglas High School, I never ran for any office while I was in high school because there was the one thing that I wanted to be at Douglas High School, and that was Miss Douglas. Don't ask me why, but a neighbor across the street who was an awesome woman, you know, I babysat for her. Um, she had been Miss Douglas. So that was my goal in life, was to be Miss Douglas, and I achieved it. I got the highest number plurality of votes in the history of the school. So, you know, I was very, very blessed. Anyway, went to Penn, where my advocacy really, really blossomed. I participated in circulating the petition to raise the voting age to 18 and amend the Constitution. We got that done. But I also was active in a political campaign. One in particular was the now deceased David P. Richardson, who was a state rep in West Philly. I worked on his campaign and worked at the Y in Philadelphia, 52nd and Sansom. I lived in Philadelphia. I loved Philadelphia. I still love Philadelphia. Shout out to my son who is there, Leonard Wesley Samuel III. He's a musician, lives in West Philly.
Big ups. Good food and great music in Philly.
Oh, just a vibe in Philly,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, right? But I call it my second home. A lot of my college mates are there still, and lifelong friendships in Philly. But came back to Oklahoma. Oh, and while I was in Philly at Penn, I was blessed to get to travel as a recruiter across the United States to recruit other Black children to come to Penn. And we were successful in that regard. So I had a variety of very, very enriching and different experiences. I majored in French. I graduated with a degree in French with an intention of teaching. But during my practicum, they ran out of paper like 3 days into September. And I said, something is wrong with this picture. My mom and dad were both teachers, so I have come from an education background. But seeing the real state of affairs, and this was back in the 70s, and you know where education is today, I just decided I wasn't going to teach. I didn't have a job either. I came back to Oklahoma during a recession in 1975, and it took a minute to get employed, but I did. I started working with the Community Action Agency, you know, those programs that are about people. I left there and went to work at the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act Public Service Employment Program, working with youth and people who are ready to enter the world of work. Ultimately, began working at the State Senate in 1981 as a legislative researcher and drafter.
Okay.
And drafted laws ranging from Medicaid to Medicare to child welfare to
Well, pardon me. Let me just cut in real quick because we do want to get there, but I just want to just ask some of these questions here early on in life, and we'll brief through them. It's important to our platform and to the Self Love Nation. So, was there any messaging that you can remember coming from your elders or ancestors? Something like, work hard, anything like that you can share with the Self Love Nation? Anything coming out of Oklahoma City or Oklahoma, from your elders that some information that you can share with us in that regard?
Maybe so, but essentially, I got a sense of spirit from my elders. My grandmother, my father's side, was eulogized as a woman who exemplified love. And she would always say, well, I hoped you a little bit. So I think hope as well. On my mother's side, my great grandfather was the public official. He wasn't elected, but he was the person they went to in Holdenville, Mr. Jake Mintz, when it came to addressing the Black issues, during that time frame. His daughter, Ursula Sanders, was one of the original founders of the NAACP here, chapter. And she was a missionary. She went to Africa. So, I kind of got my advocacy activist spirit from my great aunt, because I used to ride across the roads of Oklahoma with her, going to various places. On my mother's side, my great grandfather was a biracial man from Powhatan, Virginia, who came to Oklahoma because of his skin color, saying he was going to go as far west as the wind and water would take him. And he settled in Hartshorn, Oklahoma, where he married a Choctaw woman. And so my grandfather and my grandmother had 11 kids. My grandmother was a very devout, religious Baptist person, the Southwest Creek Landmark District.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
So it's a spirit of religion and spirituality and faith is what I got from my elders, not necessarily words. Now, my dad would say things like, never let your left hand know what your right hand was doing.
My mom says that, yeah.
What does that even mean, right? That's it.
Okay, so when you were growing up, though, like for me, this person would be Jimmy Carter. Who was the first United States president that you can remember?
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
That was my high school.
Was he there? When was he there? Like in the 50s, maybe?
Yeah, we'll have to Google that. Yeah, we'll have to Google that.
Google that. But that's the first one I remember.
Okay, all right.
After that came Kennedy, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but
yeah, Eisenhower was 53 to 61.
Eisenhower was
53 to 61.
Oh, he was in there for yeah, that makes sense then. Then Kennedy, and then he was assassinated when I was in the 6th grade. Right? Who then came Nixon, right? No, Johnson.
Johnson.
Then Nixon. So
Johnson replaced Nixon. Nixon was impeached. Well, Nixon stepped down, and then Johnson replaced Nixon. Wait. Johnson replaced Kennedy when Kennedy was executed. So who replaced Nixon? Oh, I don't know. We'd have to Google that.
Was it a Democrat?
I thought I knew it. I feel like I'm in a. I don't know. I feel like I'm just having. This has never happened for this type of stuff. Well, let me ask you though. We'll get that information. Now, when you were growing up, and this may seem like an oddball question to you, but these are questions we ask everyone. We had a guest who was 11 years old. We have guests from every background, and it's kind of what we hope to do, Ms. Johnson, is this stuff will go up in the blockchain. Conceivably, your children's children can have the ability. How magnanimous would it be if I were able to look at something from my great grandfather and just have him talking about, life and his assessment. So that's basically what we're trying to do here. And then in our next segment, we'll get into, your current political endeavors and things of that nature. So now this sounds like an oddball question, but how many times, if any, can you remember? And remember, this is a question coming from people who live in Chicago. Can you remember hearing like gunfire growing up?
I thought about that, and no. I'll tell you what I know in my family growing up has been gun violence and being a family member of a murdered child. my aunt, my mother's sister, was shot and killed at the age of 6 years old, supposedly accidentally at the home of a little white girl whose house she had gone over after school. So then my youngest brother was murdered in 1981 at Langston University, um, by a gunshot. And interestingly, that incident ended up fueling my advocacy against the death penalty in Oklahoma. So no, I don't recall experiencing hearing guns being shot. Um, I don't like guns. There was, a little potential domestic situation at my own home one day, with my father and my brother, and you know, I was just terrified. So I don't like guns. I had a daddy that would clean his guns in the living room. And just so gun violence is the issue here.
Yes.
So I think in terms of gun reform, most Americans agree that there's a problem and that we need to have a system for background checks to see who's getting these guns. And these things called ghost guns now are really on the rise. And so I'm concerned about guns, but I just don't recall hearing any gunshots. Well, okay, New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve.
Oh, they did that. Okay, yeah, because
they do. Okay, right. That's it.
we did that in Chicago too.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
the New Year's Eve. Okay, interesting. I wrote a letter to Barack Obama when he was president. I got a response. It was a canned response, I felt, but I had an ad hoc solution. I said to myself, if I don't know where my phone is, but if I lose my iPhone, right? We as a society, or Apple as a private company, has said we can track this phone, call the police, and find it. And so this technology exists, and I don't understand for the life of me why every gun that's made in this country, okay, is not chipped. So then if someone breaks in my car and steals my gun, or breaks into my house and steals my gun, it's trackable. And then it's not so easy for me to do these straw purchases and have these dirty guns ending up on the streets killing our kids. So that is just something that I wrote, and I got a response, and it was more of how the NRA is a big entity and people and their gun rights and things of that nature. So yeah, I wish I had pulled it before I did this call. So just wanted to throw that out there.
And I think that's an example of a plausible solution that you as a citizen are offering to a policymaker. There are other plausible solutions, such as, we require car owners to have insurance on their cars. There are many innovative and, I believe, potentially effective proposals that should be discussed.
I love that idea. Yes.
The NRA is a powerful lobby, and you know how things work.
Not only are they powerful, they have a lot of guns and they're willing to use it. I said that. Nobody else said it. All right, so here we go. We'll move on. Now,
so we step back. Johnson did take over for Kennedy, and Ford took over for Nixon.
Right. Ford.
Because you know what? I recall that now, because Ford was the commencement speaker at the University of Pennsylvania in 1975, right?
Wow.
The protest, several of us stood up the whole time and turned our backs to him. I'm just saying.
Wow. And that's the first president we remember. And the reason we asked that question is because, like, I think for the 11-year-old, he was like Barack Obama. It's a weird question, and I think it may it kind of could shape your worldview in a sense. Some people were born, and you got Donald Trump. I don't always do that. You got Donald Trump in office, and so that's their reality. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, here we go. Here we go.
Well, let me say this. So
Yes, ma'am.
with Dwight Eisenhower, right? There was a perception of he was an effective president as a former general, right? That was my perception of him. Even though he was a Republican, he seemed to be one of those decent people.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And I believe you can be decent on either side of the aisle. As a silverback big homie gorilla, and we say that because we want our silverback. Self Love and I, we're proponents of reparations, but that's another story and a question for down the road. But if you were in a time machine and it's your 9th birthday and you're literally sitting around your ancestors and and they're there with you and they said, CJ, make a wish, blow out the candle, and you make a wish to see yourself as you are today and just have a quick chat in a moment of time. What advice would Connie, the voice, the adult, what would you say to your 9-year-old self? I believe you would have been in Oklahoma City at that time. And if you were like my family, I think they had the cake at the kitchen table for some reason. All right, but here we go. I'll let you answer.
So just to give you some background, when I turned 9, my youngest brother, the one that was murdered, was like 4 months old. So it was literally 9 years between me and him. So a lot was going on in my world at the age of 9. Mind you, I was the 4th child. I followed a set of twins who were a year and a half older than me, and then my brother, who was 3.5 years older than me. So I always felt that the twins were a pair and they really didn't have time for me as a child. But the other piece is they were born the day before my mother's birthday. So I dealt with 3 Scorpios growing up from day one. And if you know Scorpios, they want you to be wrapped up in their stuff wholeheartedly, completely. And so I proceeded to try to be that, and so if I was myself now, I would tell myself I didn't have to try to please everyone. And that they didn't have the answers, they didn't have the solutions, that everybody was making it up as they went along, and that my search for absolute answers was futile. So I would just be a little more confident, laid back, secure in my space in that moment. I always wonder, what is it? What's life about? And then I realized at this age that life was about living and making it up as you go, and what is for you is for you, is for no one else. And ultimately, you will be here until you finish this journey. So relax and enjoy the ride, and blend, fold into it, get into it, relax into it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a fair answer. That's a fair answer. Self Love, use your quote as a quote of the day. Self, I don't know if you can repeat that, because that's going to lead me into our next question. Go ahead, Self Love.
The way up is through education.
So, you mentioned your elders. Your family's thing is more on from a spirituality thing. So, why or your okay, I think I know the answer. Your family was into education, but why did you choose to use ed as a vehicle upwards education?
Because what I learned as the child of teachers, my dad was a special ed teacher. And so, number one, I learned that we're all God's children. Every child can learn, every child can be valued and should be appreciated and celebrated, and there's no differences. So I'm grateful for that baseline foundation that they gave. However, so I was kind of a nerd growing up, and we moved to Oklahoma City. There's some backdrop. Moved to Oklahoma City when the color line was Northeast 23rd Street. So Black folks had progressed northward from 1st Street, 2nd Street, 4th Street, 6th Street, 10th Street, 16th Street, 16th, and then 23rd, right? In 1958, Black folks did not live north of 23rd Street in Oklahoma City. So my next door neighbors on the other side were a white couple who had been too old to take white flight, Mr. and Mrs. Ballou. My mom ended up being caregiver for them later in life, but Mr. Ballou had all of these books in his library, and I just was in heaven reading every day. Darwin's theories of natural selection, Orwell's 1984. So I was a reader. So, I had, my brother is a genius, so he's like 3.5 years older than me. The twins were a pair. These are the kids of educators. So I'm growing up with, by this time, not only 2 parents, but 3 siblings who are pretty well, educated. And you could not be mixed. You could not mix in that. So when I got to school, and this is what teachers did back then. So I was one of the children who got my classwork really quickly and got it done. But teachers back then knew to pair children like me with children who didn't get it quickly. And many times that's how, they kept one child busy helping another child, and the teacher could teach in the middle. And to this day, I have classmates who attribute their ability to read to the fact that I taught them to read, and I have no recollection of it. But so I've been teaching for a long time. It's just what we do. We believe everybody can learn. We believe it's incumbent on the teacher to figure out how to help someone learn if you see that someone is not learning. So it's just a mindset. It's a history. It's an environment that I grew up in that I really appreciate. So when I decided not to be a teacher, I knew that there are other things that affect children in school besides the ABCs, the reality of the policies of school boards and the policies that have incarcerated their parents and caused them to have to be raised by their grandparents. The reality of behavioral health needs of children and other needs beyond school, like training for kids who were like 14 and getting ready to go into the world of work. So, and then community action programs, the Head Start program, all of the jobs that I had gave me an opportunity to still display my passion for children. And literally, when I ran for the state Senate in 2005, it was behind the issue of grandparents raising grandchildren. So and then I got my master's in rehab counseling, which, also is about addressing the behavioral health needs of society in terms of helping people re-enter society after some separation, be it military, be it prison, be it a disability, just helping people recover.
Okay. And then that's it for the first segment. And thank you so much. Very eloquent and thorough. Self Love, I was going to throw it to you for your question in the segment, and then we'll just jump into the second segment.
Well, I heard you say you played an instrument and was in the band. How did music affect your early life?
It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. Yes. Without a song, the day would never end. But my mom always wanted to play the piano. So she made us take piano from the age of 7 on. And I loved it. I love music. my dad was very, they didn't play instruments or anything, but he was into music because he would buy albums and Aretha Franklin, you know. And so I used to sing Aretha while cleaning up the living room. I know every song she's ever sang, right?
I want to rock
So
you, Aretha Franklin. I want to rock you. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
hey, all honor to the Queen. This is
Yes.
like 2 days after her transition 3 years ago. I remember because I got a premonition that she was going to die. It
Wow.
was the same
Wow.
time I was taking care of my mom, who was also dying, and that was like right after my primary loss in 2018. But that kind of music, from playing the piano, we had a traveling musician, music teacher, Mr. Earl Pittman, who would visit the schools, and I learned to play violin. There's a funny story about that. I actually ended up playing violin as a punishment because, I had brought the letter home and I'd gotten in trouble, and I didn't plan to show my mother the letter. So my big mouth twin sister says, and Connie brought that letter home about violin, and sometimes my mama said, go get the letter. So I go get the letter. She said, and you're going to play this violin. So that's how I ended up playing violin. My brother played string bass. He and I were the only two who played instruments. The rest of us played piano.
Mhm.
But I played the baritone for a while in junior high school. And then I ultimately settled on the cello.
Mm.
So I played cello in the Douglas High School Concert Orchestra. Douglas High School, if you Google Douglas High School, the caliber of performances that were done by the music department and the depth of the music instruction at Douglas High School is off the charts. We produced our own albums when I was in high school. We did the Messiah every year with the concert choir and the full orchestra. So music just, it was a way of life. You could sit on the front porch, like when I was growing up. And again, we were on 22nd Street. Douglas High School was on 10th Street, so it was like 12 blocks away. And you could hear the band playing on a Friday night. So, just longing to get to that day. And then I got to be in the marching band as a specialty twirler. May God rest his soul, Willard C. Pitts. Was my instructor. He was a championship twirler. This is a Black guy who was a state championship twirler back in the late 50s. This man could stand on one hand and twirl his baton and turn flips. So, he taught me how to twirl. Interestingly, I inherited Kanye West's mother's uniform.
Oh,
A
wow.
Trojan uniform used to be worn by Kanye West's mother, who graduated in 67, and I graduated in 70. So that's my little Kanye claim to fame. But, so yeah, I got to march in the band. The Trojans led the band. It was music. It was always music. It was just, and even to this day, my kids, they ask me a question. Even my grandchildren will ask me a question, and I'm generally going to answer with a song, right? And then they know not to interrupt me until the concert is over. So,
Well, two things. You mentioned Kanye. Self Love and I, we met him before he embarked upon. He was already into music, but he was young, very young. He was actually in the same room Self Love's in now multiple times. And then twirling. You keep mentioning twirling. We're men of Kappa Alpha Psi, and I tell you what, Self Love. Now I wasn't a big twirler, twirling the canes, but Tory, he can twirl his butt off. I'd pay money to see you and he have a twirl off. You know what I mean?
wow. Okay. Well,
He's hilarious because been some years out there twirling.
It's been some years.
But you mentioned marching band. So let me see here. I know this is updated, but they're probably not what you guys were. But this is Douglas High School marching band in the current iteration. So big ups to them.
So give a shout out to Mr. Morgan. Jason Morgan is the band
Yes.
instructor, graduate of Langston University, Kappa Kappa Psi, Kappa
All right.
Psi, something, whatever the music fraternity is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he's doing an amazing job. So the deal is, here's the problem.
Okay.
They don't teach it like they used to. We, like I told you, we had a traveling musician teacher that visited the schools.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Education kicked off the agenda. The arts and everything, and our kids are lacking because it really does build brain development to support brain development, to learn to play a musical instrument or to express, to get any area of creative expression. So Mr. Morgan is working with what he has, but what he has done, which is genius, he has created a citywide marching band so that a few band members from Millwood and a few at Northeast and a few at Douglas come together. And I'm telling you, the last time I heard them, they sounded like a college marching band right here in Oklahoma City. So I'm looking forward to what that group can come up with.
All right. Well, I want to just jump over here and big ups and shout out to them. And I do agree with you on music. I played a bit of the piano growing up. I got away from it. She sounds a lot like Minister Farrakhan because he played the violin, and he was what she said. He said some of the similar things, but he would hide his violin, and because it wasn't the cool thing to play, but he took to it, and that's how he met Elijah Muhammad. But more growth and development. It's part of our platform, so I really only have like 2 questions in the spirit of time. So, what is your take, Miss Johnson? And it's number one on our. We don't debate here, but it's number one on our platform. Just to be, upfront. But what's your take on reparations, ma'am? What is your take on reparations for any voters out there?
I believe slaves and the American descendants of slaves are due reparations. I believe the United States was built on the backs of our ancestors in terms of free labor. And, our ability to achieve generational wealth was forever impacted and is still impacted to this day. And it's the right thing to do. I think the challenge becomes, how do you do it? I have some ideas in addition to what I've heard proposed, especially in Oklahoma, and they have to do with the cannabis industry. And, Oklahoma was originally intended to be an all-Black state. And then the decision was made to move the Indians here on the Trail of Tears, and the drama that's going on right now with the McGirt decision, in which there's the potential that half of this state is still, has been ruled to still be Indian reservations. So and the relationship between Black folks and Indians, because Indians came on the Trail of Tears and Black folks were their slaves. And in many cases, Black folks came who were not slaves, but we all came to this land called Oklahoma. And so the Indians have received consideration with regard to the gaming industry in Oklahoma. Casinos and making huge money. And basically that was given to the Indians as a policy initiative. I believe that same type of policy initiative could take place with regard to cannabis, given the agricultural history of Black folks.
Interesting.
Black folks taught everybody else how to farm. I think it's an eligible and adequate source to start the reparation process in Oklahoma.
Very
That's
interesting.
just my 2 cents.
I tell you what, if you're sitting there with your lips poked out somewhere on a couch in Oklahoma, or you might be at work working a double shift and you're not motivated to vote, if that doesn't motivate you to get up and go vote, I don't know what does. Self love.
I agreed. That's
Extremely interesting.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah, never heard
That's
that.
some ideas now.
No doubt.
After 40 years, you think about some things and you know some things, and you're old enough to know better and to know you know. So, yeah, I'm not that 9-year-old anymore.
Facts. Nor am I. I mean, throw that out there. All right. But well said, by the way. Well said. So, any myth or stereotype regarding Black women, specifically from Oklahoma, or anywhere in these great United States in general, that you would like to address or clear up, so to speak?
So, give me an example, please.
For example, maybe Black women are loud, or on welfare, or
Angry.
yes, making babies, that kind of stuff, twerking everywhere.
Well, yeah, those. And so, yeah, that's not true. Black women are as individual in our being and our nature as any woman of any other race. And any effort to try to categorize us is futile, when in fact we're just going to be who we are. Now, I understand people kind of feeling some kind of way towards us, because we are strong, we are enduring, we have unbridled strength of emotion and physical, and so that bothers people, how we can smile even though we may be crying deep inside, and how we can be hurt but still do what we have to do for our children and for our families. You literally don't want to get in the way of a Black woman and doing something for her kids. And
Facts.
so
Absolute fact.
that kind of spirit, no one can duplicate that. No one has the ability to replicate who we are. And I wouldn't want anybody to try. I wouldn't want to try to be somebody else. I'm happy, some other race, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy being who I have evolved to be.
Well, they are definitely trying.
That makes people uncomfortable, then just get to know me. It won't hurt long.
They're definitely trying to emulate Black women with the lip plants and the butt surgeries and stuff, other stuff. But that's a different topic for a different day. And thanks for that clarification. What should, we don't like to use should, because that's sort of a judgment. So what could foundational Black Americans, meaning the descendants of the direct descendants of chattel slavery or the prisoners of war, what should we do to eliminate the financial gap between us and our white counterparts?
First and foremost, I think we have to get our own. Stop using them as an excuse. and come together. Uh, so Black Wall Street worked because of the unity in that community. And the fact that the dollar circulated 37 times before it left the community,
It's
and
amazing.
ultimately that
Yes,
was the
facts.
reason that they burned it down. But um, and they did something to the spirit of the people in Tulsa when they did that, right?
Yep.
There's a spirit over Tulsa, in my opinion. But we're promoting right now, especially as a part of my campaign, revitalization of the remaining 13 all Black towns, with a base beginning point being the need to recognize that they must come together, form an impenetrable bond of unity and loyalty, and not allow themselves to be peeled off for crumbs, which is what traditionally can happen in Oklahoma. This is a pretty unique place, y'all.
Hmm.
It's very unique because you're going to
Hmm.
ask me in a little bit, if so and so wanted to move to Oklahoma, what would you say? What
Yes,
would I?
that's Pookie Doe, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
Pookie Doe, he's a
yeah, yeah,
fictitious, but yeah.
yeah. So I'm just saying that that's what we have to do: come together and do our own thing. You
I
know,
love it.
all Black towns weren't made up of just Black people. They just happened to have Black people in charge.
So stop pointing the finger, blaming, and stop making the excuses. People unite, work together. Um, I would add after um, places like Tulsa and East St. Louis and places all over this great country that turned out to be that spirit killing you were talking about. I would add that we can do a better job on the security side. Once we get everything rebuilt and so that these things can never happen again. That's one thing about our Jewish brethren. They make sure that they have things in place like the Anti-Defamation League. To prevent these things from ever happening again. The Voice. What's your take on Black Lives Matter, ma'am?
They do.
Okay, that's fair enough. Were you going to add, or that's fine? We can move on. Have you ever personally felt the effect of police tyranny? Personally,
Mine are so non-dramatic. They just happen in these lily white settings. But so once upon a time, um, so I was also a cheerleader at University of Pennsylvania, and there was we were at a basketball game in the Palestra, and waiting on a game to start or something. This was the days of Corky Calhoun and Craig Littlepage and Phil Hankinson. And I believe Phil and I were sitting over to the side, and the Star Spangled Banner came on, the national anthem, and we didn't stand up, right? So here comes this policeman out of nowhere grabbing on him, talking about, you need to stand up. So that was probably my most tyrannical. I tell you, mine are just so none really anything, but no.
was he in uniform? I mean, was he on duty or off duty?
He was. I'm gonna tell you though, but here's another reality. I have witnessed the tyranny of the police against my daughter and Black women in
Well,
particular.
that's personal.
Yeah, and she called the police about a situation that was going on with her baby's daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the perpetrator, and they treated her like she was the perpetrator, and literally to the point of just being ugly. And we wrote a report on it, and of course they didn't do anything. But and then she called them again, and they tripped out. So you know, Black women just don't call the police in Oklahoma.
I think that kind of goes into when we were just talking about these stereotypes, because you're talking about the strength of our women and what we've overcome as a people. And so our women are powerful, aside the fact that they're the original, in my opinion, this is me talking, I'm not going to get into science, the original woman, the original human being on the planet. That's just how I feel. But so there's some predispositions, even with these officers, when they're dealing with our women too. I don't think they treat them with the same gentleness, I should say, the same urgency. Maybe if your daughter was blonde haired and blue eyed and then it was me standing there, then they would have had to be aggressive with someone else, So Self Love, I know you had some questions. I think you had one from a very brilliant 11-year-old Oklahoman who I think you guys will be hearing from in your state. I'm talking about Nick Whitted, who sat on the show. So he did have a question for you.
Get right to it.
All right.
Here
And
it is.
then
Hey, here it is.
Okay.
Nick sat with us and he asked, what are your intentions, if any, to provide relief for the bevy of juvenile lifers once you take office?
In Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. The reality of juvenile lifers in Oklahoma is unfortunate. There's a guy working on my campaign who was imprisoned at 14 years of age for a murder that he did not commit. And the system failed him. He couldn't read. He didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who actually did the killing, who was his best friend, ended up getting out in 23 years, and then turned around and helped work to get him out in 26 years. There's one guy serving here who has been in prison for 65 years who went in as a teenager.
Goodness.
And so juvenile lifers and the way our system, our criminal justice system is designed to deal with children who commit crimes under the rule of law. These are children who, just like Judge Kavanaugh, whose brains have yet to fully mature and to develop. And so they many times don't know the consequences of right and wrong behavior. But we throw them in prison, and the first thing they do is they put them in solitary confinement for a year in order to keep them out the general population. Then when they bring them out, they keep them on a separate schedule from the general population. So you have these children who've been locked up like an animal, left in solitary confinement for a year, then brought out and still treated differently in a system that never really addressed the issues that they are dealing with. There are different solutions. So yes, Nick, what I will do is, first of all, raise awareness about it. And we're trying to do that right now with the help of folks like Sarah Banner here in Oklahoma. We've got a consultant coming in next week who's going to be visiting with us about it. So we're not waiting until then, because that's the thing with a campaign. You run in for governor, but you got all these problems that are going on right now. that you can't just say, oh, I'll deal with that when I get here. These are real and present situations right now. So once I'm governor, given that we will have already raised this awareness, we will be able to put legislative proposals in the governor's plan and fix the budget accordingly that address the needs of juveniles differently, that come up with different models instead of the lock them up, throw away the key. Interestingly, Oklahoma County jails had to take all of the juveniles out and house them somewhere else because of the conditions that they're living in.
That's
we
awful.
are violating the rights of children.
That's awful.
As a government, all in the name of law and order, and many times profit with regard to Oklahoma's private prison industrial complex and their ability to influence policymakers, you know, who then pass more things that criminalize juveniles. When I was in the legislature, they passed a bill that said that anyone on a school campus who observed a child exhibiting gang signs, so that could mean the pants hanging down or wearing a certain color or showing a certain sign, and that could be service personnel, the bus driver, the teacher, the coach, anybody who observed that could report that child, and that child's name would go in the gang database, right? Wow. Created this gang database. So that once school is out, and maybe that kid is walking down the street and he gets pulled up on, and he might be doing something kids do, right? His name is already in the database. So it's strike number 2 against him. So we create a pipeline for our youth in order to maintain in Oklahoma, I believe, our 98% private prison bed occupancy guarantee.
Wow.
So I'll change all of that. We must change. We cannot incarcerate our way to sustain. We cannot sustain this level of incarceration and hope to meet the needs of the people. The people's needs are so much greater now post-COVID in terms of emotional and behavioral health needs. And we've got to reshape our budget in ways that respond to the needs of the real needs of the people. And kids don't need to be locked up. They need to be treated differently. And there are models out there that we will definitely look into, but the norm cannot continue, and it will not continue.
We're getting some great questions in response to that. I think, in Self Love, I know you probably got some questions, but let's do this. I want to take the quick 6-minute break so we can stretch our legs, get some tea or what have you. Ms. Johnson, so what we'll do, ma'am, and then we'll come back, and I promise we'll wrap it up in 45 minutes when we come back. But we're getting some very good questions in the chat. So, Self Love, if you can do your thing, and then we'll be back in 6 minutes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank y'all for being here. You see the content that we bring. Please share this with like minds so we can expand and grow. Got a couple of great videos lined up for you. Check them out.
Got the voice in
right
the
back.
The voice.
Yes. We've been here with the voice, and she been dropping gems like bombs.
Absolutely.
The time is now, my people. We must band together.
Yes. Right. Let's hear it. All right, Self Love Nation.
I wrote this poem last week for an event that was focused on explaining how the 14th Amendment is not being upheld in America because the 13th Amendment never abolished slavery.
Lights
You see,
out.
here in America, we make up approximately 5% of the world's population, but we make up over 25% of the world's prison population. We are here asking our country to hear our cries to defund the police. But I want to explain exactly what that means to those who have the privilege of police protecting them. You see, minorities make up a big portion of this country. Poor minorities and poor white people make up most of this country. Most minorities and poor white folks never call the police to help them because we know us or a loved one might die or go to jail from us calling for help. So for the ones that think defunding the police means that you will not be able to call them for help, please understand that we have never been able to call them for help. I think defund the police has you confused. So let me change the words so you can understand. Defund means we stop overfunding the necessities that our police officers need to investigate and prevent crime. This does not mean take away our police system. It means we take away the extra billions of dollars we used to overfund them and put it into places like first respond crisis teams that can assist before the police are called out. We live in a system where $3.2 million can be spent on a sting operation to catch a drug dealer, but less than $1,000 investing a child rape case. That is what we mean by defund the police. We take away all extra funding and put it in places needed, like testing rape kits, serving communities with partnerships and community watch protection plans, investigating in crime prevention such as education and job resources, not putting billions of dollars into funding in private prisons. I am 11 years old and I am a 4th generation prison kid. That means for 4 generations, my family has felt the pain from the generational curse of prison. You would think my family is full of bad people, but truthfully, we are not. We are regular Americans. Our story is not unique. Every year, the state of Arkansas takes my dad away from me. Not because he commits a new crime, not because he does not provide for me and my siblings, but because the rules the parole committee puts on him are almost impossible to follow. The 13th Amendment states slavery will be abolished in the United States and provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime where the party shall have been duly convicted. That means that slavery was never abolished. It was reworded to make the judicial system the slave masters and the police the overseers. America's prison system is slavery. Angelica Y. Davis stated once that imprisonment is increasingly used as a strategy of deflection of the underlying social problems: racism, poverty, unemployment, lack of education, and so on. Why is it okay to put people behind bars simply because we're poor? Today, instead of plantations and reservations, we have incarceration. The Prison Corporation GEO made $2.33 billion in 2017. Billions of dollars from locking up people like my dad. I ask you, where's the justice and freedom in a system that makes billions of dollars off the backs of inmates?
The time is now, my people. We must band together.
Lights out.
And even in this instance, if I could be of service to a 9-year-old girl or a 19-year-old woman or girl who wants to be a woman, is to really remember that self-love is the best way that you can receive love from anybody else, because it's coming from you. a lot of times we forget that. We like look externally for this love. We look externally for this feeling of validation and adoration and approval, and it has to come from within.
Yes, yes. Welcome back to the Self Love Show. Today we got a very special guest, Democratic gubernatorial hopeful Connie "The Voice" Johnson, and we're breaking down the life, early life so far, and now we're moving on to the political side, and it's going to be a great expansive experience, and we're blessed to have her here.
Hey, I agree. And now we're getting, as they say, Self, down to business, down to the good stuff. What most of us are here for. Big ups to Trife Mag. Support him out there in the chat. Big ups French Dose. Salute, man. He said y'all got good content right here. I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate your support. Also to the young man, Prince Jamar. Am I saying that right? Jamar. Prince Jamar. I always say Jamar. I said it right the first time. Right? Close.
Yeah.
Prince Jamar. It's the way he spelled it. Can't be my fault. But all right. There's a lot of gems in that name. He did a Ode to the Pros y'all might want to check out on TATN, so big ups. He said, blessing, much love to the Self Love Show. He said, thank you for your service, Miss Johnson. Yeah, man, and yeah, keep walking on water on the south side, Prince. You'll be a king one day. We got... let's see. I'm the overseer. That's where we get into the questions. So, Self, I don't know if you want to start out, if you had any questions. If not, we'll start with the questions in the chat. And as we, wrong button. As we get our guest going here.
Yeah, gotta hit it, the request. So.
Okay, that's cool. No hurry.
Here we go.
Yeah. So did you have a question, Self, or you want me to start with the chat? And welcome back, Miss Johnson. Welcome back.
Just wanted to ask one question, and it is kind of one of our foundational type questions. But how important is mentorship?
Very. I think it's our duty to mentor. Somebody mentored me. It kind of like Jesse Jackson always says, if you see a turtle sitting on a fence post, you know he didn't get there by himself, right? And I am so honored to get to feed into the young people who are around me today. And I get requests all the time. In fact, I just had lunch with a young lady today. And, you know, I don't view it as a big deal. I just think it's people and being genuine and open and honest, which is what we should be to each other anyway. But, you know, a lot of people feel that young people aren't worth the time, or they're too busy to take the time. So I tell the young people around me, I'm so tickled that they will even listen to me. And I'm just honored to learn from them, because these children nowadays know so much more than we did. This ability, like you did, to ask Google anything and get the answer immediately, you know, the technical skills that they have to understand the technology, where my eyes glaze over on stuff. You know, I want to give a shout out to Aaron, my campaign manager, because he got this thing set up, and my son gave me this nice little ring light.
Big ups, Aaron. Big ups.
Ring light that my granddaughter told me what the name of it was. I said, you know, that circle with the lights around it. She said, ring light, Mimi? Yeah, that. You know, just to get to experience their input and their perspective. I love it. And I love sharing the benefit of my life, my knowledge and experience. Because like I told the young lady today, she's really torn about her relationship with her mother. And, you know, it turns out like the mother's relationship with the grandmother was equally, right? So, you know, I'm just sharing with her. So that just is what it is. What you gonna do? You know, just go be you. Tell your mother you love her. And quit being double-minded. Quit dwelling on these conversations in your head about my mama don't appreciate me. You don't have time to think about that if you think about and keep your eyes on the path that God has for you. She's got a plan. She's getting ready to go to the Air Force. You know, she just focus on that. So I got my master's in rehab counseling, which really did inform my service as a senator, because I learned how to listen with empathy and genuineness. And, you know, then apart from that in life, even I have to deal with that daily. Quit being double-minded, you know, thinking about why it won't work or who don't like me. You know, just think about, well, God, this is a beautiful day. And I'm so grateful that I got to get, and you know what? I got 7 hours and 20 minutes of sleep and, you know, find something good. And the day passes and things just happen in beautiful ways. And you get single-minded.
And the people said amen. Miss Johnson, we were talking about, I guess, some prison things, juvenile reform. I'm the overseer, who is a friend of the show. He said, and this is something that Self Love and I have thrown around, can we as a people consider, or have you ever taken a look at, can we come together and get our own private prisons, meaning have some Black individuals of means get together, and then maybe we can show society, hey, give us your worst, you know, and guys like Self Love and I can be the guards and, you know, give us your worst and let us do it our way. No, give us your worst of the worst. And then, so what are your thoughts on that, Miss Johnson?
I generally don't favor privatization. When you privatize government services, you take away accountability because of the contract that exists between government and the private entity. For example, in Oklahoma, we had a private prison where they had a riot. And because it was private, state police were prohibited from going in, putting the riot down. We have privatized foster care recruitment service. And in those instances, when there is a problem, you got the contract between whoever is the foster care entity versus the ultimate foster parents and the state, right? So I'm just not in favor of privatization of functions of government. I think government can be run more efficiently. I think there are some prison models in places like Switzerland that are far superior to what we have.
Yes.
And then, you know, so that's a whole nother show, y'all. When we get into the impact of private interests on government, that's the game.
She's talking the greed. Greed.
Corruption. That's a whole nother story. In Oklahoma, really, y'all should have me back and talk about how corrupt our criminal legal system is. I'm not even calling it the criminal justice system, the criminal legal system. It's bad.
Miss Johnson,
Dude,
my wife is watching the show. Her name is she's in there, Tasia. She called you Auntie Connie, and she said great stuff. So She's the executive producer here, so you are welcome at any time. This is what our platform is all about. So if Self Love doesn't have any, reservations, by all means, right? Anytime.
Yeah.
Our shows are Wednesdays, but we do special shows on Tuesdays. If you had something that you wanted to talk about, just reach out to me or Self Love, and we'll go from there. But we have a question from Cameron Barnett. He says, "Hello."
That's hi, Cameron.
He says, "Hello, Connie. What would you do as governor to encourage reading and higher education in a state that, ranks 47th, in education?"
Ooh, Cameron. I would throw out what we have. Our education system is broken. It is under the influence of private interest in many ways. We have a lot going on with charter schools and expending public funds on private schools. And so the state of affairs of education in Oklahoma, like he says, is 47. And we didn't get here in a vacuum. We've had a legislature that has continually dumbed down education. They don't teach civics anymore in Oklahoma. And so it's an intentional dumbing down of society. So it's going to take more than me as governor. It's going to take us electing additional policymakers this time around in 2022. If Oklahomans haven't figured out where we are because of the last 11 years of total Republican domination in state government, and if they have figured it out and it still feels good to them, well, let's keep doing that. But I'm depending on the voters in Oklahoma to say enough, and to not only elect me as governor, but to elect people up and down the ticket who get it when it comes to doing right by the people. Education is the way out for so many. And when people's education systems are broken from the get-go, that just means people aren't making it out like they could and should. Higher education in Oklahoma is another story we should have a conversation about in terms of the politics. Oil and gas. The oil and gas industry is very influential in the funding and in the management of our institutions of higher education. They serve on the board. So you get a feel for where their priorities are. Oklahoma is an oil and gas state. It's a big deal here. But what happens within the halls of higher education that's directly impacted by their input and their influence, I think is something that needs to be changed as well. We have Langston University here, historically Black college and university, the only one west of the Mississippi. It was founded, I believe, in late 1800s to be a higher education institution for Black folks. And so that mission has been in place for a long time. You know, my aunts and uncles, moms, brothers, sisters, kids, I even have a degree from Langston. And Langston has played a role nationally and internationally in everything. And right now, in my honest opinion, Langston's continued existence is under threat. It's up under the Regents, Oklahoma State University Regents. Those board members are appointed by the governor. And for some reason, there is this effort to consume Langston into OSU and for it to no longer exist. And I have a problem with that. Wow. So, Cameron, I don't know if I answered your question completely, but it's It's a big umbrella question, and all the way from the policies in our Common Ed that lead to poor educational outcomes, that lead to kids graduating who can't read, and who need remedial education before they can even go to junior college. All of that's by design, given the current policymakers. So we have to change those. We need a new governor. We need different legislators. We need to bring back some balance to the power structure here in Oklahoma. And, our challenge is to share that. And I'm glad you asked that question, because education is a key platform for our campaign. Our challenge is to share that and make sure that people know that that's what's at stake. Improved educational outcomes for our children is very much at stake in this 2022 election.
It's a key platform.
Cameron can sing.
She said sang too.
She say sing. She said sang.
Sang, yeah. Education is a critical part of our platform on the Self Luv Show, and Self Luv is his mom is a lifetime educator as well. So you all have something in common, along with the twirling. But Cameron sounds like an educated and informed voter. So big ups. He's not just giving his vote away. I call that being a voting prostitute. Also, Tori, what's the YouTuber's name? He has his own school. He's been trying to raise money.
Oh, you're talking about Umar Johnson?
Yeah, maybe Umar Johnson could collude with Langston, and we can get that privatized. That was kind of tongue in cheek, but back to the show. Enough of my shenanigans. I talk about the 4 Ps in our community. And those are, the pimps, the politicians, the police, and the prosecutors. So when you decided to embark up,
prostitutes in there.
That's probably everybody else, but it's probably the ones using the other 4 Ps. But that being said, when you told your family, like, how does your family, I just know there's a stigma attached many times when you talk about politicians and policemen, prosecutors within the Black community. So how does that affect them? What kind of support or lack of, how does that work in your family?
So I believe that my mom lived vicariously through my campaign. I believe that is something that she would have wanted to do in her life had she been able to. So I very much stand on my mom's shoulders. She was my #1 campaigner. People will tell you that my mother is the reason that I won that race in 2005, when I ran against 3 people who had already been elected, and a field of 5 candidates, and I won. My sister moved back to Oklahoma and was my treasurer. I mean, we really literally had a kitchen table campaign. I was only able to raise like $12,000 because one of the people running for office, who had just been elected to be the state representative for the area, decided to run for the Senate seat that became vacant because of term limits. And, he didn't win. So my mom stepped up, my sisters. When my kids, at that point, my son was really excited about it, because he's kind of got my blood, my spirit in terms of activism. My daughters didn't have a choice, because they were like 15, 2005, 15 and 17. My oldest daughter has always been my graphic designer, and they were really excited, So my ex, by then he was a man, but when I first ran for office, I didn't win. I ran for trustee of my town behind some education issues in PTA, and no support. Subsequently ran for school board, didn't win. no sport, kind of got rid of him. We went on our merry ways. And so when I ran for senator, everybody around me was supportive. There was, it was that thing where we believed, I believed, I believed that God had this for me to do. I literally was 2 years away from retirement. I worked for the Senate for 24 years. I had to quit my job, be unemployed, uninsured for 6 months. And had I lost the race, I could not have gone back to work at the state Senate. And I took a $25,000 pay cut. But God was faithful. And again, I think it's because I always believed that I would win. I never believed that I wouldn't win, right? And so that was for a 1-year unexpired term. I had to turn around and run again for the full 4-year term. So literally, I campaigned for like 18 months. And the person who came in number 2 felt that had there not been so many people in the race, she could have beat me. And then I beat her 68-32. So like I was saying, what's for you is for you. And it turns out that that lady and I, we became good friends because she went on to become the county commissioner and make $109,000 a year compared to my $38,000 a year. So I told her she got the best deal. But I never wanted for anything during my term as a senator. It was literally a blessed endeavor. And when I got the full 4-year term, is when I got busy introducing the game-changing legislation that has really dictated the course of criminal justice reform efforts in Oklahoma right now, especially the legalization of medical cannabis.
Big ups on the legalization of cannabis and any iteration of legalization of cannabis. Pookie Doe. So we do thought experiments on our show, and Pookie Doe is a fictitious character and does not live in the great state of Oklahoma. So Pookie Doe is considering relocating to various states, and Oklahoma is on the list. So what would your pitch as future governor of this state be to Pookie Doe to come to your state and, of course, pay some taxes?
I would say to Pookie Doe, Oklahoma has a lot of challenges from its inception to now. Along the way, the first law ever passed was Jim Crow, Senate Bill 1, not House Bill 1. And that's just the foundational reality of Oklahoma. Oklahoma is built on racism, founded on racism. And knowing that, we still live here. So I would invite Pookie Doe to come to Oklahoma knowing that it can be different, knowing that he came from somewhere where it was different and that he can help make Oklahoma be that. He can come and not accept this business as usual by voting along with all the other people who are coming here. Oklahoma's kind of in a growth cycle behind having the most liberal medical cannabis law in the country. And it's the epicenter. People are relocating here in droves. And I think it's wonderful because we need different mindsets like Pookie Doe's and Susie Q's and whoever who know that this is not normal, that we can do better, we can be better, government can work better, people can have more transparency in dealing with the things, that police brutality is unacceptable, and voting is the way that I would say, Pookie, please come here and get educated and do the right thing. Come be an upstanding citizen who knows that for government to work right, you have to participate in government. So don't just come here thinking that, you know, you just come and we need you to come here and get busy.
That's more than fair. And you said business as usual. We say bigotry as usual. When you said, you know, let's change it from, you know, the way it is, we call that bigotry as usual. And that's, you know, kind of good old fashioned, the American way to a certain extent. So I'm not saying it's right. It's just what it is. And we know a little about racism in the city of Chicago. Dr. King said it was the worst place that he had marched. It's extremely segregated, but I'm not comparing. Trust me, I'm not comparing, because you said it. Oklahoma is an interesting place, and I won't know it, but I do. I've heard that and everything I hear about it, and historically, I do a lot of reading, and I'm like, yeah, wow, Oklahoma, whew, wow, a lot of trauma and stuff in Oklahoma, Louisiana, you know, I would say, and a lot of tragedy and great stuff at the same time. But well said, well said. You mentioned earlier that you're no longer the 9-year-old girl sitting at the kitchen table making a birthday wish. So what didn't you know at the onset of your political career regarding, you know, governance or governing or the government that your nose may have been wide open to, or you were naive, so to speak?
Um, I I had no idea how pervasive corruption could be. And you know, I was just naive to that. Um, and then I learned what true ethics are, what it truly means to be ethical. So I just gotta, and that was a part of my studies under rehab counseling in the Langston University master's program. Um, I had to get a degree from Langston. You know, I had to keep the family tradition going, even though I got my undergrad at Penn. So
Big ups, big ups.
big ups. So I think Langston just it instilled in me a foundation that helped me do my job more efficiently, better as a senator, just from understanding, have a true meaning of having a true understanding of the meaning of ethics. So those two things, you know, one hand and the other, kind of get me to the middle of trying to make sure that government is government of, by, and for the people, you know, that there's transparency. And I think that's a part of being ethical. That, that when there's corruption, there is no transparency.
Self Love and I have been saying this since we were 18. We're in an organization, and yes, it's if there's transparency, there can't be. It's much more difficult for corruption. I mean, yes, everything should be transparent. Everything.
And there has to be accountability.
Facts.
Yes.
That's why you have to have transparency. I heard you say that. Yeah, without transparency, it's very hard to hold anybody accountable.
What's required to be the voice of the underdog?
I think you have to be okay with people. You have to not mind being with people. Like I told you, my orientation to people who were different from me came as a result of my father working with his students who were special needs students. Robert Jacobs and Glendora, you know, were boyfriend and girlfriend, and Robert was perhaps intellectually challenged, and Glendora, you know, she had a condition with her head, but they were literally in love. And, you know, they would have dinner with us. And so, so having that kind of orientation to just people, just all kinds of different people, and then being willing to listen to them so you can hear, I like to say, what keeps them up at night, you know, and listen intently and listen actively, because people will tell you everything that's going on. Uh, but once you know that, and my daddy's other deal was that if you know something, you have a duty to teach others. So I know the legislative process like the back of my hand. I could do it in my sleep, right? Because I did it for 34 years. And helping people understand that that's the way to bring about change in government is number one, voting. Number two, holding the people you vote for accountable and knowing the process that they use to get things done, you know, ensures that you can have an expectation of change. And you get enough people doing that. Like Oklahoma is like number 4 in the number of unregistered voters who could vote. Our campaign is going after those people. Again, to listen to them and find out, well, why are you not registered?
Yes. That's a great thing.
You, I want to get into the next question. But one thing we do say here, one of our mantras is silence is violence.
88. It's because 57% of the people voted. I bet you half those people haven't voted since then. But then they look up and wonder, well, why? Well, why aren't you voting? Tell me. So people say, I don't believe in anybody. My vote doesn't count. It sure doesn't if you don't vote. You know, listening to all of these reasons about why people are not voting, then being the candidate who, like myself, can share with them why they should, what I will do, what I've done, what else can be done, and helping them to believe that it can happen if they engage. And that's who we're going to go after this time.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ms. Johnson. I want to ask this next question and bravo to that. So Self Love and he texted me while you were just talking, and sorry if I was distracted. We were trying to decide what you would have become professionally if you were not serving your state and your community. Me personally, I said you would be a professional twirler.
That's close.
Tori said first chair Chicago Symphony Orchestra violinist. So what would you have done do you think you would have done had you not embarked upon that career?
I would have been a singer.
All right. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. A singer. That's surprised, but I mean, you are the voice, so that works.
My next thing is I would have been a comedian.
Entertainer. You'd have been a, all around entertainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
well, if I hear her sing,
I'm really shy, so I don't know. I'm glad I do what I do.
Well, there's a way, and you can think about it before the end of the show. We could decide, if you would have been a singer or a comedian, and you can either tell a joke or sing a few bars. And if the singing's awful, we'll say, yeah, your future would have been in comedy. Or if you choose a joke and we don't laugh, we'll say, yeah, But no, I'm just throwing that out there. So I'm just throwing that out there. Now, let me ask you this, though, because I know you have a team and you've been team building. What's the more important aspect to a successful team? Meaning, when you're putting your team together, do you value the individual's ability, that individual's skills, or the ability to work cohesively within a group? So meaning, 5 Magic Johnsons or 5 Michael Jordans?
So, and this is what I've found after this is my third statewide campaign and probably my fourth campaign. So maybe I've had a total of 7. And what I've come away having a deep, abiding belief in is that for a team to work together effectively, number one, there must be respect. And then there must be trust, and people must be trustworthy. And the third factor is a spirit of positivity. Uh, Believing we can do it. Nothing's too great or too small for anybody on the team because we're all committed to getting the job done. So respect, trust, and positivity.
I love that. And, you know, my ancestors are flashing a small room self. When we get 1 million followers and we have a big production, we'll have a small room in the corporation for all the negativity, for the people to sit in there and throw out all the negative stuff. And, you know, it'll be a horrible room with horrible food, give them stuff to complain about. But, huh? All right, but here we go. And I agree with that. I do agree with
them what they
everything you
want.
just- Yeah, feed them what they want, you know, let it feed upon itself. And then there are some things that, you know, they'll come up with every now and then that naturally you'd have to take a look at.
Yeah.
Next question, ma'am. If you, what advice would you give to a young person? You know what? I'm going to say a young lady, a young woman interested in politics, pursuing a career in politics.
So I get that question all the time because people look at me, they think I'm successful. What did you do? What was the formula? You know, and I'm like, just live your life trying to do good, trying to help somebody, trying to make a difference where a difference needs to be made. You know, you'll know. Like for me, it happened inside the school setting where I noticed that you know our town was feeling some kind of way about our school, and it was the only school in our town. It's part of a bigger school district, but I didn't like that, so I ran for town trustee because I wanted to be a voice for the children on the town trustee board. So I lost. Then I ran for school board because I felt that the school board had made a decision to downsize, again, our only school, and it was purely political. So I ran for school board, and ultimately I lost. We have a 5-board school board in the Mid-Dale district, and 3 people were from, there are 3 towns, Midwest City, Dale City, and Forest Park. And all of the elected officials were from those other 2 cities. So basically Forest Park was experiencing taxation without representation. Well, we fixed that this last time around, and a young gentleman named Ed Daniel got elected to the school board from Forest Park. So I ran those races because of what I had observed in being involved with my children in the school system. And so then as a part of the PTA, I was the president of the PTA, and then served on the PTA council, and I was on the legislative committee for the PTA council, you know, because I knew legislation. And, you know, so I'm just living my life with my kids, you know, going to church. I was my pastor's right hand up until he died in 2001. And then having the latitude and the freedom inside my job to be allowed to engage in the community in a professional capacity as a legislative staffer. So that's like church, school, and work, right? And
Yes.
those things ended up forming the foundation for who I am and who I became. And then I realized that in order to make a difference, you had to be able to push the button. It was that simple. you had to be at the table and push the button. So that's what I tell people. Just live your life. Whatever it is that God has for you to do, he already has you on that path. Believe it, be the best you can do the best you can by people. And if that's what you're supposed to do, then you just do it. You just do it. That is not rocket science. You find out where to go down and sign up, and then you might lose 2 or 3 times, but then ultimately, if it's to be, it's going to be. But don't not do it because you don't know what to do. Just do you.
Thanks.
Man, hey, Self, if she says just do it one more time, we're going to build Nike. But you know what? We should, I don't know if we can get sued, but our slogan, the Self Love Show, should be, she said, just do it. Don't just not do it. Right? I'll come up with something where Nike can't sue me. So I am taking note. Right? Huh? They'll be looking like.
Hey.
All right, now you're throwing good money after bad, coming after me, Nike.
Down. You down with boomerang. Don't just not do it.
Right. Don't just not do it.
Yeah. We're gonna trademark that.
So you said organic involvement. I'm taking notes. It sounds like and have a spirit of service. Get out there. Pull your sleeves up. You were working in the church and PTA and other organizations, schools, and sit at the table. And you had a flexible work situation where you could, put the work in and don't just not do it.
And so this is supporting. I was the youth choir director at the church, and I was like one of the lead soloists in the choir. So, I got to live my music life through the church.
Yes, that's where many of us used to start, in the church.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that again.
Well, when you are governor, the first thing or the biggest thing on the Voices agenda is
to create a budget work program that prioritizes the needs of children and families. And so that's a big basket because we're talking education, we're talking meaningful, good paying jobs, we're talking health and mental health. To put together a health and human services agenda, first and foremost, take care of the people. The people, like during budget cuts, everything gets slashed across the board and the people get slashed first. I will prioritize the people in terms of the policies that we address first. And those will all be listed on my webpage as we get our campaign up and running. The webpage is under construction. It's Connie, GOVCONNIE.com. We encourage everyone to go there for now and sign up in order to get updates. And of course, to push that little button that says contribute. You know what, during the past week, they actually raised the maximum amount that a person can contribute from $2,800 to $2,900. And so 29 is the max, but we'll take anything less than that. So ours is a people-powered campaign. It's important to have as many small donors as we have money. So that those issues will be outlined. And again, our top priorities are education, healthcare, and infrastructure, and jobs.
And just for context, this is a very humble lady here, which doesn't surprise me one bit. For context, everyone, she ran a very vigorous, campaign. She's out there in an extremely red state, it's rouge, you know, je parle français, un petit peu, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. My French teacher used to laugh every time I spoke, every time I opened my mouth. Yeah, she'd pass.
Mine as well.
Yeah, she'd pass me and she'd have the other teachers come in, say this and that, and I'd say it and they'd laugh because I had a South Side accent with my French. It was the best I can do. You know what I mean? All right. But I imagine it's like when a French person's trying to speak English and we're laughing, but I guess I deserved it. Can you define and unpack POT? And I believe it's, was it people overcoming trauma?
That's an acronym that a friend of mine out of Atlanta and I agreed on. POT, People Overcoming Trauma, in Oklahoma from day one. From, like I told you, the fact that this was supposed to be an all-Black state initially, how the trauma came when the United States reneged on that promise. The trauma came with the Indians being brought here along the Trail of Tears, and those were the 5 slave-holding tribes. They call the 5 civilized tribes. There are 34 other tribes in Oklahoma, but just the trauma that this is where the Civil War ended. Juneteenth happened in Texas in 1865, but it actually didn't happen in Oklahoma until 1866 with the signing of the 1866 treaties by these 5 tribes, and one of them never signed, but I think one signed as late as August the 14th, the other one was June the 19th, June 14th, May something else. And the requirement that those tribes had to give their slaves land, which is how Black Wall Street and the 51 all-Black towns came about, but they also had to adopt them into their tribes. Now, you can't ignore the reality that pretty much every Black person in Oklahoma has Indian blood. Because imagine that they were on the Trail of Tears together and some of them were sleeping together, you know what I mean? So here we are. But again, so the Civil War technically ended in Oklahoma. Oklahoma was a territory. It was not a state. Like Nick was talking about, the 13th Amendment got passed around that time. You know, because slavery was only abolished in the states that were seceding from the Union. Slavery was still legal in Missouri and other places, right? So, so the reality that the 13th Amendment simply said slavery was abolished except as a punishment for crime meant that all of a sudden these new laws, Black codes, where a Black preacher could be arrested for preaching in church and put in prison, or
loitering, vagancy, yeah.
And so the Reconstruction period came to a screeching halt with the ability that got returned, and Black folks came up dead, and their land was stolen, and all kinds of trauma. And then you had the land run of 1889, and the people who jumped the gun, and they were called Sooners.
That's where that comes from. Wow.
I'm not making this up. This is history. I'm just sharing.
I love it.
About trauma, right? But, you know, and there were Black people who claimed land in that land run. But, you know, this critical race theory concept, whatever that is, you know, will we stop teaching and reenacting the land run in Oklahoma, where white settlers were allowed to come in and take territory that belonged to the Indians? You know, it was opened up for settlement. Trauma. 1907. So Oklahoma tried to submit its constitution to the federal government for approval several times with slavery in it, with Jim Crow in it, and it got rejected every time. So finally they submitted it without it in there. We became a state. First bill passed, Senate Bill 1, not House Bill 1. Senate Bill 1 was the Jim Crow law. So what that meant was that trains coming from Kansas, not first bill. Trains coming from Kansas had to stop at the border, and the black people had to move to the colored car in order to come into the state of Oklahoma. Trauma. 1921 trauma, right? Lynchings in Holdenville the night before the Tulsa massacre. Trauma. The Murrah bombing, the building bombing. Trauma. We have one city that has trauma-informed services, Ardmore, Oklahoma. You know, it deals with everything from a trauma base. It's like, you didn't pay your electric bill. Well, what's going on? You know, they come at it from a concern perspective and not just, well, we're going to turn off your electricity, right? So this whole issue of trauma, Oklahoma's like maybe number 1 or 2 in deaths in police custody. Y'all talking about that chase that ended. You know, my baby Star was killed when the police were doing 80 miles an hour down a neighborhood street and broadsided and killed her on the east side. They would not have been running 80 miles an hour on the northwest side of Oklahoma City. So trauma, you know, the fact that her mama had been in prison, trauma. Oklahoma incarcerates more women than any other place in the world. And on average, those women have at least 2 kids. And those kids go into the foster care system and they get abused. Trauma. So people overcoming trauma is a state of being that we hope to improve upon, that we hope to govern from a trauma-informed perspective and ask, what's going on the east side that's causing people to not have a good life, right? Why is there a food desert? Why was the land systematically cleared with urban renewal and those homes weren't rebuilt in favor of building the OU Health Sciences Center? Trauma on the east side. Is that enough?
Yes, no, I said, let's bravo, question everything. It's self-love now. We question all of that. Do question. And that you were talking about our government, you know, I wear this, and the history and this relationship, you know, with us. So self-love, there was a joke though I heard in college. It went like this. What do you call a black man who breaks his promise? A renit. What do you call a N-word? Yeah, and that's how I feel about the government. But I want to do the true false. We want to get into the true false questions because we're wrapping it up. True or false? The parent and or guardian are the most important players in the child's education game. That's true or false?
I think that's true.
True or false? No, go ahead. No, all right. Well,
a child's original teacher. Yeah, I have a 2-year-old grandson and he speaks complete sentences because I've only ever spoken complete sentences around him. And sometimes I wish he wouldn't say the things he says, but you know.
I love it. I'm not a parent, but I love it when I baby talk somebody's child and they're like, stop talking to him like that. Or the child is looking at me like, is this guy, something wrong with this guy? Yeah. Why is he talking? You're bad, dad, bad. And you got the kid looking at you like, what's wrong with this guy? And they're laughing at you, not with you. Okay, well, true or false? Art is more essential to humanity than science. And I would include music in art.
You know, as a musician and an appreciator of the arts, I think that's true. But I can't completely disavow science. That's an unfair question.
I bet you a scientist wouldn't say that. All right, here we go. Here we go. True or false? And this one's, think this one through. and ignorant. Ignorant. They ignorant, they ignorant, never land. I never touched a little bit. And they brought me to court and they took me to the police department. They told me to pull my pants down. But here we go. An ignorant, and rest in peace to Michael Jackson. True or false? An ignorant voter is worse than a well-informed non-voter. Huh?
Did you hear me say pass?
Yes. You thought the last question was unfair. Okay. Next one. True or false, or pass? Many politicians are marionettes to high-dollar lobbyists.
True.
Excluding Connie the Voice Johnson, whom do you attribute? She's probably going to say mom, but hey, let her answer it. Whom do you attribute your professional, we're talking professional achievements to most?
Mom.
See, I'm a good listener, and self-love is even a better listener. When you were talking about listening with compassion and actually hearing someone, oftentimes I'm talking. All right, here we go.
Can I qualify it a little bit?
Please.
My mom made me possible, literally and figuratively. It was my mom who kept my kids or picked them up from school for me when I had to do all those crazy hours at work. So that was a professional attainment level that I was able to achieve because of her support. So I'd stick with that answer.
Not going to get any argument from me about mom. Big ups, mom. I love you. And all right, here we go. Forrest Gump sent the question in. And Forrest Gump is real. I know you guys think I'm crazy, but here we go. Who have you met and or worked with, where you pinch yourself and you say, wow. And before you answer it, I heard Nas, he's a rapper, in his new album, he mentioned he never met Muhammad Ali, and I met Ali like 3 times, Self. And he talked to me every time, just living in Chicago. And you mentioned Jesse Jackson earlier, Miss Johnson, and I remember horse playing in a park. I was maybe 9 years old, and he's like, what would these white people think about you guys? I thought you guys were fighting. They're going to call the police. I'm like, man, I'm trying to have some fun. He's like, I'm Jesse Jackson. But this actually happened. All right, but your Forrest Gump moment. Who have you met or worked with where you pinch yourself and you say, people won't believe me if I tell them that?
It may be hackney, but President Barack Obama. And I have the picture that shows it. It literally shows the look on my face is like,
all right, so we saved the easiest question of that segment, and then the last one is like 10 minutes, but this is the easy one. The meaning of life.
Life means living and being your best, giving it your all, and believing that you can make a difference, that you have a purpose, that it's really not about you. You are a grain of sand on the beach that God created, and we all play a role, and we have a duty and assignment to realize why we're here and what it's about. It's kind of like what I've said all night, just be single-minded, that you have a purpose, that every day you wake up wanting to achieve and to be the best you can be and to make a difference in others' lives. Like my favorite song is My Living Shall Not Be in Vain.
Okay. Any family quotes, scripture, words of wisdom? I think you just said a song that you like, that you hang your hat on, that you'd like to share with the Self Love Nation?
family quotes, words of wisdom. Love. It's all about love. Love conquers all. How the Bible says, it's not puffed up. It's, yeah, love. We can just love each other and be found trying to give the love we want to receive. I think that's what's missing. Like that song says, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. And that was back in the 70s. And we still need that love.
My mom told me that my grandmom, rest her soul, said that to her, pretty much those exact words on her deathbed when she was transitioning. That's what she told her kids, love one another. And yeah, that's how she summarized it. And she had traveled the world. She had traveled the world. Very powerful woman. Okay, well said. Can you recommend a book to the Self Love Nation?
Yeah, I meant to look it up. The Mother.
Okay, haven't heard of that one.
I know it's an old book, and I can't remember who the author is off the top of my head, but that book really struck me as powerful. When this woman in particular, it covered her life and from the hardship, the raising her kids and finally her death and what she achieved in that moment. But the picture of her as a very stoic person was what what struck me the most about that title. So I'm a mother, and I've had some wonderful mothers in my life, right? I was trying to look it up while I was talking, but I'm not seeing it.
Do you know if it was fiction or nonfiction?
Oh, it's fiction.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, as you're looking it up, can you recommend a Black-owned restaurant? Anywhere. It can be anywhere.
Sure. So, a restaurant that opened up the same year that I first ran for the state Senate here in Oklahoma City on Martin Luther King is Carrie Can, Carican, Carrie Can Flavors. It was opened up by a woman who moved here from New York who had been in the financial industry. And she dreamed about the building. It's an old pharmacy building, the color scheme and everything. And she has oxtails and everything Caribbean, right? Goat.
Nice.
So yeah, Carrie Can Flavors is my go-to restaurant. However, there are places like Florence's that have been here since 1952 when I was born. She and my mom were friends. And Florence's is a very well-known restaurant, Black restaurant in Oklahoma City.
Okay, Florence's, big ups. Any myths about Connie Johnson, about you personally, or anything that you want to clear up or address? Any rumors or anything like that? I haven't heard anything. Just want to throw that out there.
Well, of course, there's something. Everybody got something, right? I think a downside for me is that I often try to help people and end up many times being resented for it. And so, it doesn't mean that I stop helping people, but one of my friends said they have to protect me from myself in terms of my willingness to try to help people and then getting thrown under the bus. So, in this life, everything is about, well, we'll call the media and tell them this, and then it'll blow up in the paper. And
Mm-hmm.
so all of us who are in this field have been subject to exploitation in the midst of trying to help others. And I would just ask folks to think like, just as sure as you needed help, others need help. And why would you close the door when you get in? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a call to people to always think bigger than themselves. And I certainly think bigger than myself. This is not about me. This is really about the work that I've been called to do for God's people.
Facts.
Absolute fact.
Facts.
It's
Facts.
bigger than
Facts.
me. It's bigger than you.
Facts.
It's bigger than us. Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of separating the message from the messenger. Of course, there's people like Donald Trump, Hitler, that you like, wait a minute, the message and the messenger sucks. Okay. True or false? There is a God.
There is.
Okay. Connie Johnson, true or false? Connie Johnson has seen an apparition and or witnessed something that confirms for her without a shadow of a scientific doubt or reasoning, the supernatural.
I wouldn't call it the supernatural. I would call it the Holy Spirit, who, God sent to be a comforter and to guide and lead and guide us back to him. And so, yes, there are times I should have been dead. And I know that I felt something lift my hand up and turn off the cruise control as my eyes blacked out driving in California with my whole family in the car.
Wow.
You drive so long, it just goes black.
Mm-hmm.
Something lifted my hand up and turned off the cruise control. I know that happened.
We definitely have to bring you back. Yeah.
Yes.
Self Love and I had a magical experience on the freeway in college, traveling from visiting another college town up to nonsense, frat guy stuff, and shouldn't be here right now. So, and I felt that hand you're talking about. I've personally felt that hand on 2 different occasions. So, it's interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Well, and this guy has been to the other side.
Is that supernatural enough for you? Is that supernatural?
Yes.
It's my angel. It was my angel that protects me.
And Brother Wordsmith, since you've been to the other side, he's had a near-death experience. That my grandmother talking about love. Did you get any concept of that? That's all that mattered as you were leaving here.
Leaving here was just like waking up. It wasn't a sense of leaving.
So it wasn't a sense of going to sleep.
No, it wasn't a sense of. It was expansive feeling.
Okay. All right. We'll get into it. I just wanted to throw that out there. We'll talk about it. All right. Connie Johnson has seen a UFO.
No.
Connie Johnson has seen an alien.
Nope.
True or false? We are alone.
False.
True or false? Human walked on the moon during the Apollo program.
Is that the one where the first one giant step for mankind and something for the
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
I had never thought about it. I just believe they said he did. So you don't think they did?
Well, we don't answer questions. We question everything, but that we're trying to teach the youth here. But no, I personally, Miss Johnson, I it's a lot of stuff I don't believe, and that's one of them. I just don't think they did it because I always say this: if I live in Inglewood, California, and if I told my wife, I've driven from here to Chicago to Tori's house, 17 times. And she's like, whatever. Yeah, I did it 17 times, you know. And she's like, do it again. Well, you know, we don't have the technology. I don't have the that it just doesn't. So that's just me. But you know, we're wrapping it up.
What about the guys? What about the guys' space flight recently?
I believe they went to the edge of that, but I think that is a waste of human energy and money, and we could be figuring out how to get the floodwaters from the East Coast to the drought areas on the West Coast. And if we can pump, listen to me, America, if we can pump oil and build pipelines across this country and all over the world, then guess what? We can pump water. We can pump water. But that's a whole, and we can create jobs doing it.
Good paying jobs too.
Good paying jobs.
Thanks.
Miss Johnson, let's see where we are. Anything? Well, I'll save that. We just have a quick game. It's called a 9 at 9. So what I'm going to do, it's an ink blotch test. And it just takes about 30 seconds. You can pass. In order to be considered a winner, you can pass up to 2 times without penalty. And then if you answer the first 9, right? The last 2 questions, we'll give them to you, and then those would be what do you call those? Self-love bonus questions. So basically, how it works is I'm going to throw you a pair, and you are to choose which pair resonates with you, which pair that you had to take, which means you're going to keep one, and then you're going to eliminate the other one. So you're going to name the one you're keeping. So let's go here. Let me get our little timer going. The timer, Miss Johnson, with all due respect, this is just for effect. So here we go. You know, yeah, that's all. They won't tell you that in Hollywood, but I will. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. This is the 9 and 9. Prince, Michael Jackson.
What?
Which one would you choose? Prince or Michael? Okay. Remember, it's an ink blotch test, so you got to get it out quick.
Okay.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X? You remember, you can pass.
Malcolm X.
Wow. Big ups. Big ups to both of them. Okay. George Washington. I've never told a lie. Get in there, you slave, and make me an apple pie. And Abe Lincoln.
Oh, Abe Lincoln. Bless his heart.
Yeah, he's a Republican from Illinois. So, here we go. And he's a lawyer. His family probably didn't trust him. All right, here we go.
But for the South, he would not have, whatever.
Yeah, they never stopped the war, but, you know, we're in a public forum. We'll talk. All right, here we go. All right. Self-love. You haven't heard this one. Barack Barry Obama. She's probably thinking I'm going to take Barack all day. Or Michelle Obama. Remember, you can pass. Barack Obama. Yeah. When they go low, we go high. And you tell them, my mom and daddy worked the fields, and now I'm living in the house. Yeah, she lives, actually, her family grew up like right around Tory's house where he is now. Okay, here we go. Ronald Reagan, right? He was talking to Nixon on the phone, and it's like they had you. It's like those people without shoes, and it made my feet hurt, whatever he said. Ronald Reagan, I respect the dead, so rest in peace. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan.
Nancy.
She's answering all of them. Big ups. Fred Hampton, JFK.
Ooh. I'm pass.
Fair. I knew I'd get a pass somewhere. Denzel Washington. She's thinking right away. So Denzel, I mean, who can he be coming up with? Sidney Poitier.
Denzel.
Wow. All right. So you answered all of them except for one. Okay. All right. Here we go. George W. Bush Nuclear. They had WMDBs, and he's my daddy. He's talking about my daddy. So I started a war. George W. Bush or Donald J. Trump? Trump.
Bush.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, but Bush started the whole war because his daddy.
You think I would say Trump because he went to Penn, but we're not saying it too loud.
He was registered at Penn. I have reason to believe he probably never went to a class. But here we go. And I don't know that. This is just my opinion. All right. Okay, here we go. Pookie Doe. And we're not talking about the tax-paying Pookie Doe. We're talking about the habitual criminal. Or an oath breaking. We're not talking about the good cops. Pookie Doe, the habitual criminal in Oklahoma, doing crimes and carjacking. Or the one that took the oath and hides behind a badge and works for white supremacy.
Pookie.
All right. So, oh yeah, this is one more. It's one more because that's it. And then we'll give you the bonus if you want to do the bonus. The Oklahoma Sooners or the Nebraska Cornhuskers? Your whole governorship is resting on this answer.
Oh, that's right, Sooners. Thanks.
All right. Well,
my son loves the Sooners, so okay, yeah, the Sooners.
All right. Well, here's the other one.
I didn't go to OU or OSU, so I'm just not in that. I'm
No,
a Penn Quaker.
I hear you. Here we go. Don't want your campaign manager calling me, right? All right, so here we go. All right, so here we go. This is the last one. It's the bonus. The king of rock and roll or Elvis Presley?
Aren't those the same? Oh, who is the king of rock and roll?
Tutti Frutti. Oh, Rudy. Tutti Frutti. So that'd be Little Richard or Elvis Presley.
Yeah, Little Richard.
You going with Little Richard?
Yeah,
we're changing the paradigms here because in my review of history, it was Little Richard that should have been labeled the king of rock and roll. It's just that, you know how America can be. So
exactly.
But that's all we had. I mean, unless you had something, Ms. Johnson, that we didn't cover or anything that you wanted to say to the state or to the voters or just to anyone, now would be that time. This platform's yours.
Sure. Shout out to the OSU Cowboys as well as the Sooners and the Langston Lions.
That's right.
All my football loving sports universities in Oklahoma. College sports is a big deal in Oklahoma, and it is a pathway for many. You've got the Berries, Billy Sims, and Jamal Holloways. People who have done well in Oklahoma collegiate sports, but higher education is a worthwhile goal in Oklahoma. Common education is certainly the stepping stone to that, but preparing our children to be productive, healthy, true citizens is a responsibility of all of us, and certainly government has a leading role to play in empowering our children and families to be the best that they can be. A child who is not healthy cannot learn. So healthcare is important. Families need meaningful sources of income, and they need good paying jobs, and people who made mistakes in society deserve to have an opportunity to come back into society and get a good paying job. And these are certainly three of the components that we are promoting and focusing on in our campaign to be the next governor of the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma is at a crossroads where Our future is bright. The cannabis industry has been a savior for for this state. I call it the new green gold versus our traditional black gold sources, because we know that those fossil fuel sources are going to dry up in the coming years. So Oklahoma is poised, I believe, to assume a leadership role in many ways, in terms of the economy, in terms of criminal justice reform, in terms of a better health outcome for people who are presently dealing with addiction and what have you behind the pharmaceutical companies' hold on government. So um, our platform is literally about educating children and families, making sure that their health is as good as it can be, making sure that there are plentiful jobs that pay well, that there's training available for those who need it post-COVID, you know, helping people figure out, and government being a tool and helping people figure out how to retool their lives for the next phase of our society. All of these are the things that we are planning to do, and we are promoting as we ask folks in Oklahoma to vote, to support a woman, a Black woman, a Native woman who has over 40 years of experience giving back to the community, who has pretty much dedicated her life to making things better for people, and who feels like going on, who you know, in spite of everything I've been through in the last 3 years, I came back from my mom's transition, rested, I took some time to rest, and felt that it was our time. And so I just want Oklahomans to know that I'm the only Democrat running in this race. The present governor is helping us every day with regard to his silence on the issues that matter, and his loquaciousness on things that really have nothing to do with the well-being of Oklahomans right now. So we're 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 just inviting people to stay woke, to pay attention. And then the biggest thing I'd like to leave folks with, the lesson that I got coming out of the 2014 election cycle, where only 29% of the people voted. And I made history as the first woman of any race and the first Black person to achieve a major party U.S. Senate nomination. Um, as people are looking at what happened that year, that only 29% of the people voted, meaning that that governor won re-election with 15% of the vote. What I came out of that experience realizing was that people are registered, they just don't vote. And so what my experience and what was put on my heart was a campaign that I've been pushing since 2015, which is getting every registered voter to also just apply to vote by mail, just apply for an absentee ballot. We're not promoting using it, but once people apply, they have a guaranteed notification 30 days ahead of each and every election in this state. They have 30 days, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, up until the Monday before the Tuesday of the election, to hand deliver that ballot to the county election board. They have a chance to study the ballot. They have an opportunity as a church or a community organization or a fraternity or sorority to actually hold their own voting day using the mail-in ballot. But we still don't advocate that people mail those ballots in. We advocate that they hand deliver them, given the uncertainty of who's in charge of the post office right now. So a strategy, a major strategy of our campaign is voter education and awareness behind ways to guarantee that people vote, because we're going to need people voting in order to make this difference. we want to find those 52% of the people who are unregistered and not only get them registered, but give them a way to guarantee that they can participate and take care of their civic responsibilities by voting. So we are taking that message across the state of Oklahoma via a series of listening tours, again, where we will go and listen to what is keeping the people up at night in the state of Oklahoma. And based on those tours and what we hear, we will continue to.
Uh-oh. Oh, I got kicked.
No, I don't think it's you, Tori. I think it's
the convention adopt is addressed in our campaign platform. So I'm the right candidate at the right time, and I'm asking people to do the right thing, get registered, guarantee their vote by also applying to vote by mail, visiting our webpage, govconnie.com, leaving us your information, contributing to the campaign. We're at the point where we're getting the legs up under our campaign. We're getting staff on board. You know, we're getting our capacity to go across the state together. And we need people's help. We need people's literal help to empower us to do the job that I know we can do. So thanks everybody for this opportunity and to share. I really appreciated the depth of the questions. And I have a joke. It's kind of nasty, but.
Well, well, I guess she's choosing the joke over the singing. So let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Help somebody as I travel alone. Anyway, so here's my joke, and it has to do with Cindy Lou. And my good friend out of Chicago told me this joke. And shout out to Congressman Danny Davis, who is a good friend of mine.
Big ups.
Anyway, so Cindy Lou lived in the South, and she had occasion to go up to Chicago and visit her cousin. And so she went up there and she had a good time, and she went back to Mississippi. And her friend asked her, well, Cindy Lou, how was it? Cindy Lou said, girl, they in Chicago, they got some men's that'll kiss you up here, and they got some men's that'll kiss you right here, and then they got some men's. Oh, wait. She said, they got some men's that'll kiss you right here. And he said, oh, what you call them? She said, we call them kissers, right? Anyway, so then, wait. Okay, I messed it up. They got some men.
Well, first of all, your singing was excellent. So I'm thinking you would have been a singer, but go ahead.
I can't remember the jokes, right? But then they got men who kiss other men, and they call them homosexuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, and they got women who kiss other women. And she said, well, what they call them? She said, well, they call them lesbians.
Uh-huh.
So then she said, well, they got some men's that'll kiss you right here, and they'll kiss you right here, and they'll kiss you down there. And she said, well, what they call them? She said, girl, I call him honey. That's my joke. I messed it up.
No, that was good. That was good. I'm still gonna say singing though. Also, Self, she used the word loquaciousness, huh? You know what I mean? That's one of those words I gotta, I'm just gonna go outside tomorrow and use that. I'm gonna be at the corner store. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be at the corner store and, I'm gonna figure out a way.
Too much attention. You're paying too close attention.
And then you did your website. And lastly, she mentioned Jamel Holloway and Billy Sims. Big ups to them and their families. Billy Sims, he was a Lion. He played for the Detroit Lions. Okay. And they helped Chicago's economy because, what is it? John H. Johnson is there where they produce all that hair activator, the curl activator. And those guys personally spiked. They personally spiked the and I had on some of the stock. So big ups. Boy, they put on the curl activator. I was like, man, what's going on in Oklahoma?
So Billy barbecue. I saw one today,
Big ups to
and they
Billy
have the
Sims.
picture on the side with this huge afro. And I was like, well, how did he keep his afro like that?
After
Because
putting
when you
all
got
that, yeah, you're right.
yeah, you gotta braid it and roll the ends at night for it to come out and look good, right? But Jamel Holloway lives in southeast Oklahoma near McAllister,
Okay,
and he's doing very well. He's
that's great.
involved in the community. He's interested in the cannabis space, and we've reached out to him to get in touch with Barry Switzer. So Jamel, I'm still reaching out to you, and I need to talk to Barry Switzer.
Yeah,
And
Barry Switzer. He used to make my neck hurt. Barry Switzer, just looking at him. Boy.
Man.
Remember he had all those neck surgeries and he just had that strong neck. He was at Oklahoma coaching and at Dallas. Big ups to Barry Switzer, though. Big ups.
yeah, he cool.
Yeah, he seems like cool people. And Jamel Holloway.
Yeah.
And
Good
Billy
brother.
Sims
Good
was
brother.
so humble, and he was a man of charity. I make a lot of jokes, but Billy Sims, I mean, he was a man. He was a great. He was more of a leader. He wasn't very vocal, but he was more of a leader by example. You never heard crap about him like in the street and stuff. So big ups to
And
him.
you remember J.C. Watts, Congressman J.C. Watts.
Yeah,
That might have been before your time.
might have been. Yeah, might have been. So, but to the governor, I'll just say, show yourself out, and once you win, we'll do what we can on our end. You have my vote. If in Chicago, we vote early, often, this state, that state. I'm just joking, but we can get people there to vote. But that being said, I know you walk with the Spirit of the Lord, and give them everything you got. Give them everything you got. Don't leave nothing. Donald Trump has showed us. Give them everything you got because you're doing it for the people.
Facts.
Yes, we can. Yes.
People are dying
you,
out
God.
here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Like I said at the
enjoyed it.
beginning.
Thanks
That's
to
it.
Amberly. Thanks to Amberly for connecting us.
Big ups to Amberly
She's-
Pooh. Yeah. Yeah. Big ups and little Nick.
And Lil
Yes.
Nick, yes.
Yes.
They're Oklahoma residents now.
Big ups. Well, he
Hey.
he likes to talk a lot of Arkansas. So, I'm looking at a lot of his new music. He's claiming Arkansas, but yeah, they're residents. So as long as they're residents, they can vote. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
See.
And there's a black guy running for governor in Arkansas.
Okay.
On the Democratic side.
Mhm.
Oh wow, nice.
Check him out.
Yeah. We certainly will. To the future governor, and once you win, Self Love and I maybe we'll do a show from the governor's mansion. And
Yeah, we got a swimming pool and everything. So we're gonna have barbecue and tails and reggae up the street from where I grew up, right? The mansion is on 23rd. I grew
You
up
see
on
him?
22nd.
you see his laugh. He's imagining all the Chicago people showing up at the governor's mansion, and they won't leave until you cut the music off and throw all the food away. I'm telling you, I love my people, but you're talking free food and partying at a mansion, boy, they twerk all
The
over.
governor's mansion. They gonna be like
They could teach us how to Chicago step. We would have
They
a
should.
purpose.
for sure will.
Yeah, education.
I'd have to bring my wife in for the Chicago stepping because when I do stuff, they just laugh. I could be a comedian, just get on stage and dance, and people laugh. So that's it. Yeah. So, but thank you so much. And our platform's your platform. And anytime that you want to come back, please reach out to us. We're here from you. And I definitely was edified, and I'm sure Self Love feels the same way.
I do.
Thank
Completely.
you. Likewise. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am. And then everybody, that was the, as we call her, the voice. And big up to Lil Durk, because Durkio's like, what's going on here? He's a Chicago rapper, though. They call him the voice. So big ups and thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Man. magnanimous, bro.
Man,
a lot of that was just like we was having a conversation. Me and you was having a conversation, but we ain't even really had to conversate.
Man, this is very true, bro. That was expansive, to say the least.
Man, I'm excited for her and the state of Oklahoma. Y'all need to make sure that y'all make that your governor.
Man, definitely get out and vote, and let your voice be heard. Self Love and I, we're not real big on that national politics, but that's local as far as I can tell, right, Self?
Absolutely. I mean, if you live in that state, that's local.
Facts.
I mean, it's the president of your state, for lack of a better term.
Facts. Man. So, and thank you to everyone in the chat. Those were great questions. Self Love, I forgot to rattle off the riddle du jour. So, we want to be men of our words. So here it goes. You see a boat filled with people. It has not sunk. But when you look again, you don't see a single person on the boat. Why? One more time. You see a boat filled with people. It has not sunk. But when you look again, you don't see a single person on the boat. A thumbs up out there?
Oh, yeah. And couples are married or something of the sort.
Let me read that again. Well, the answer is everyone is married. So I think you've cracked the code there. So that is the solution. Everyone is married. So it says you see a boat filled with people. It has not sunk, but when you look again, you don't see a single person on the boat. Right. So it must be a married cruise. Yeah.
Thanks.
And Dara Walker said that the governor was awesome. Yeah, she was.
Absolutely.
This is why we do this. We believe all of our people are awesome from every walk of life.
Man.
We're all fractals, different expressions of what?
One mind.
Yeah.
One spirit, the one soul.
Yep. As above, so below, and as without, so within. Right. I put that last part on there myself because nobody talks.
Everything's within.
Yeah, nobody talks about that. You know what I mean?
Everything is within.
Facts.
That's what I would add.
Facts. Man, I'm with you, Self, and you guys, please, like, share, subscribe. Good job on the riddles, man. You've solved all of them except for two. That was the one I couldn't think of last week, remember? And I had to go to a second riddle. So I should have just put it out there. You'd have solved it, but that would have been the one time you didn't. So you did that before. I couldn't think of the answer, and you solved it. I was like, oh, thank God he figured it out because I didn't know. I got a new system now, so. But you guys, August 25th, Self Love and I, we have a very special show. It's hashtag guest free. We'll tell you that much, but I guarantee you this topic is a hot topic. Normally, Self Love and I would tell you the topic. We give you a sneak peek. We make a promo video. We you know what I mean? We're not going to do that because this is a topic that's proprietary, and we're saving it for next week. So, great guests coming down the line. Fantastic guests coming down the line as well. So we'll just keep this going as long as the big executive producer way up there
keeps turning on the lights and letting us go at it.
Facts. Make sure you guys don't miss tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on TATN. We're doing Mouthpiece Included again. That's politics. It's maybe your wife watches The View. This is a male version of The View where we talk a little sports, but more politics and more sports. It just really depends.
It's great content. So, y'all get in there. Make sure. I know I'm listening every week.
Yeah, we drop links in there too for anybody who wants to pop in there, and and it's more, I'm not wearing a shirt and tie. It's more, fun. We sit back and we sip on this and that. Might smoke a stogie, but we don't answer questions. We question a lot, right? So,
absolutely.
So, that being said, yeah, any support is would be greatly appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, comment. We thank the governor. And I'll throw it to Self Love for my personal favorite part of this whole shebang, and that's going to be Tori, the wordsmith's final words. Out.
Man, this was expansive. Way more than I could ever imagine. Candidate that got it straight, understands how to put it together to elevate Oklahoma as a state of mind, state of being, creative mind with the all-seeing. If y'all don't take advantage of this ride, it's gonna be left on the outside. And that's facts. Because what I see is she's Black first. And recognize that we are the original people on this land. Aboriginal. They owe us more. Reparations is what's in store. So let's get our mind right and keep it tight and get reparations. All means necessary, but keep it in a positive light.
Don't act like you don't know. It's a no on the track.
Yeah, buddy. Bullets are boomerangs.
Stand your ground.
Murder is suicide.
An eye for an eye.
Silence is violence.
See something? Say something.
Slave theory. That's greed. Sprinkle in a little ego. Put it over some fear. And that's the formula to make a slave.
Facts. But you get charity plus humility times love. That's freedom.
Do not, under any circumstance, for any reason, under duress or not under duress, answer questions.
With that same energy, question everything.
Bro, fear is illusionary.
Facts. So we vibrate love.
Yeah, so get back on the horse. Forgiveness and charity. Yeah, well, those are the highest vibrations.
So do something charitable for an enemy to end a beef.
Healthy people heal thy people.
Because y'all all know hurt people that hurt people.
Free Larry Hoover.
Free Jeff Ford.
Free all the guys, man.
Prison is slavery.
Self Love. Be like St. Pedro.
Facts, bro. We just move mountains. You know what I mean? We got to. We'll just move mountains.
How we gonna move mountains? How the scientists gonna do that? We still trying to get a vaccination. How the scientists gonna move mountains, bro? What you talking about?
I ain't talking about the scientists or their science. I'm talking about the faith of a mustard seed is all we need, and we got way more than that.